them. So welcome. Again, if you missed it, I'm Sarah Turpany, and I'm going to be working with you and bringing you onto our new online giving forums, the DS Marketing Forums. Today is your first training session to give you some basics of the forums. I sent everybody the PowerPoint slides. I'm not going to go through every slide. I'm going to do more of live demoing of the site. What I would like to do today is make this a bit of an interactive session if we can. So I will show you how to do some things and then sort of repeat myself to give you a chance to do it yourself. So if most of you, or actually all of you, should have received login information from me this morning. I sent it to whoever was the listed as the primary contact for your station's migration from the setup form that we had everybody send out. If you didn't receive it, you can follow along what we're doing today right now, and then once this training session is over, reach out to me and let me know, and I can make sure that you can get a login and access to your station's account if you don't have it. So what we're going to go over today is what the schedule is for your onboarding, give you a walkthrough of the forms, talk about some of the customization options and what you have control over and how you can customize them. And there's some additional customizations that you can work with me to get put onto the form if you want, and then adding premiums to the system for your thank you gifts. So these are kinds of the things that are kind of the basic setup of having the features that you need in your form. And then in 2 weeks, we're going to have a second group training session that's going to go over the reporting piece, to go over running some test pledges, seeing the payments, the information about the payments in the form, pulling out reports so you can get all of that data out and get that data into your membership database. So the schedule that we're looking at, we want to get everybody moved over within the next 3 weeks. That means this week we're really going to concentrate on some of the preliminary setup of the forms. Next week, I'm going to have individual calls with each of you. The idea being over the course of the next week between now and when we have our calls, you need to concentrate on, dedicate some time to go into the system, start to get your form set up so that you can find out where the questions are, if there's something you're doing in QuickPledge now or the online giving form that you have now that you're not sure how to get it set up in the new system because things seem different. We can talk through that and figure out the best way to solve whatever problems you're seeing. Or if you're realizing from the documentation I've given you and the tasks that something's not clear and we need to dive in how to do something, we can go over that. Then in the third week, the form itself, at least your primary form that you need. If you have several forms for special purposes, we're probably going to concentrate on your primary form, and then you can work on forms related to special campaigns after that. By the third week, it should be set up and ready to run a couple of test pledges to make sure that we have everything connected correctly to your payment gateway so that you can get the money that comes into the forms. And then we'll also test pulling reports out. Really the things that we're going to want to confirm before switching you over and making you live. One, do you have the basic fields in the form that you need to collect the information you need? Two, the payments actually go through and you can get the money off the other end. And then three, can you get the data out that you need and update your membership database so you can end-to-end manage payments that are coming in through the form. So for those of you on QuickPledge right now, I do want to quickly go through a couple of differences that you're going to see when you make the move into the new forms, and then we'll dive into the live demo and training of the new forms. So first things first, you're no longer going to receive the nightly emails with batch files in them if you've been using those in QuickPledge. Instead, you'll need to go into the forms and download reports to get the same information. You'll still be able to get at all of the information about all of the pledges that were in the forms. We're just eliminating those encrypted emails. It causes lots of confusion when someone upgrades their email program or gets a new computer and then suddenly can't get the information from their pledges. Moving forward, you'll just be able to go in and download the information as often as you need. We can talk through any particulars of the matching gifts piece on what you are using right now, but we are moving away from, in QuickPledge, there were some fields that you could put on your form to give a drop-down list of companies in your area that may match gifts, to have people indicate that they work for a company with a matching gift. Instead, what we've done is we've moved that to the thank you screen area. We just think it's better not to slow down the process of someone ready to give you money. Let them give you money and then follow up with, oh, you could double your money. Here's information on how. We can put in custom fields if there's a special situation you want to talk through with me, but that's just a small difference I just want to point out. Also, if you're using Sage as your credit card, as your payment gateway, right now, the forms are configured to use Sage's real-time processing, which is a little different than what's set up in QuickPledge, where the scenario you're probably familiar with is QuickPledge would send the credit card number to Sage, but then you would complete the transaction when you uploaded the batch file into your database. The forms right now are configured to do real-time processing, meaning that if I'm a donor and I hit the submit button, then Sage is being told to charge my card right now, and what goes up into your database is that you have received this payment for whatever my gift is. If you do need the Sage Vault processing, we'll talk through that when we talk next week. That's in the works and will be ready to turn on in a couple weeks. So if that applies to you, we can talk about it. Some of the more advanced features in the new system have to do with adding and removing fields. So for now, I'll need to set that up for you. So as you're looking at your new forms and the new template, if you're realizing, wait a second, we asked a question that says this in QuickPledge, and we really need to keep asking that question, then I can add a custom field for you. And probably the biggest and best change you're going to see when you move from QuickPledge to the new forms is the streamlined design, the mobile-friendly, responsive design. So instead of QuickPledge right now works on a mobile device, but you have to do a lot of pinching and zooming to be able to do anything. The new forms are designed specifically that they'll load in a way that's user-friendly, whether you're on a mobile phone or a tablet or a desktop or what have you. So with that, I am going to dive into a demo. Things to keep in mind, these are the things we're going to go over, and things that you'll need to be working on in the next week is one, adding your logo to the system. I'm going to walk you through that, and if you have a version of your logo handy, you can go through the process with me as I go. You'll want to start adding information about your thank you gifts into the system. You'll want to, I've reached out to everyone with some potential times for a call next week, so if you haven't already gotten back to me on what works for you, let me know. And then also you're going to want to clone it. I'm going to show you this, clone a template, and we can do this on the call as well, so you can start working on setting up your form that's going to be your primary form. So with that, I'm going to jump out of the PowerPoint and go into live demo mode for everybody. So right now I have displayed on my screen our demo site. Everybody's form follows very similar template, so it has the same color scheme. You have a bar at the top where you can add some branding, and this is where your logo shows up, and you can customize what, there's a space called the tagline where you can put some text up at the top of your forms here. Now the information in this top bar here is the same for all of your forms. And so if you have multiple forms and this text, whatever you put in here, will go across all of them. So you want it to be general information about the station. So in this example, it's support WBUR, maybe it's a station tagline, that kind of thing. You do have a descriptive text that you can customize for each individual form, and it's not shown here, but there's a title you can customize as well. So there are ways you can make it clear when you have multiple forms, what is this particular form all about. So first things first, when you have access to your account, this is the sort of what the donor would see. Everyone's form is on a similar URL on donate.nprstations.org. If you want to get into the back end so you can manage things, you just need to add user to the end, and that is going to get you to the login screen where you can enter your username and password. If you have an account set up and you can't remember your password, you can go to this request new password link and put your email in and hit the email new password. And the system is going to email to you a link that you can use. It will log you in to the system onto the profile page for your account. And there's a field there where you can add a new password. So there's 2 fields to put in the new password and confirm the password. There are some other contact fields that you can ignore. Those are related to hooks that are in the system for, at some point, for profiles around donors that come in. That functionality is connected to the user accounts. This is why you will see there's a lot of fields that you don't need to worry about just for your account to log in. So you can update the password and then scroll all the way down to the bottom of that page to save your change so that your password will be updated. So right now I'm going to log into the system, and this is a dummy account, so you may see some strange things in this account. So when you log into the system, it's going to give you this administrative landing page where you're going to see a list of a few forms. We've preloaded everybody's account with several sample form templates that you can start to work from. I'm going to go over to a real station so you can see the complete list. What I just did, I should tell you what I just did. Underneath the list, there's a View All Donation Forms button that you can click on, so you can see all of the forms. What the system's going to do is that landing page is going to show the most recently edited forms. So as you're working and you're adding forms over time, that's always going to be the shortcut to the forms that you've worked with most recently. But you'll have, there's technically no limit to the number of forms that you can have available in the system, so you can always click that View All Forms links to see everything. Now there are a lot of forms here in the samples that you may not have a need for right now. You can peruse them if you want to. There are several links. The view link will always give you what the donor will see. The templates we've put up are for different scenarios that we've come across talking to several of the stations that we've worked with so far. What I would suggest looking at to start with when you're working on your primary form is there's one that's set up as an example, a default combo. And what that is a basic form that's a joint one-time gift form and a sustaining gift form. So it will let you have your donor choose whether they want to set up a monthly gift or whether they want to make a one-time gift. The other thing that you may want to take a look at as your primary form is the annual member form. What that is for a one-time gift only. So you might have your main pledge form be just the one-time gift, and then perhaps you have a separate form set up just for sustaining gifts. Other stations have a form set up that can do both. So the first thing that you're going to want to do, and you can do this with me, I would go into that View All Donation Forms, and right now we can change this later if you change your mind, but I would choose either if you want to have the joint form, that default using the default form, or if you want to have a one-time only form, use the sample form, and then you're going to want to clone it. So what you do is you go to that link that says clone, and you click that, and that's going to trigger the system, and you confirm that you want to clone it. It's going to trigger the system to make a copy of that form that you can then customize. We really recommend cloning the samples that we have so you can save the samples as examples that you can refer back to later after you've done a lot of customization to a form. Those samples will always be available to you, and then you can copy from there. So if you're following along, if you're moving along with me, go ahead and click that clone button and then confirm that you want to clone it again next to one of those forms. And what you want to do to start when you're just copying a form to begin with is you want to make sure that you give it a title, a new title, and a new internal name. So the title is really the name of the form that the system is going to use to generate the URL, and you'll see in a minute what that looks like. But the URL has your station name and then a slash and then something really pulling in the name of the form. So maybe it's support WXYZ is the name of your form. Then the internal name is a name that is only visible to people who are admins of the system that can log in, and that's where you can leave the same title that you used in the title field if you want to, but it's where you could also put something a little bit more descriptive just for internal purposes. Maybe it's Spring Drive 2015 primary or something, where if you're looking at a list of multiple forms that you've created, you'll know by looking at that internal name, what is this form, what did we use it for, especially if you're keeping the title more generic, you can be a little bit more descriptive here. You can decide or not. I'm going to uncheck it for now so that we can see it. This hide form title, what this does is a title can appear at the top of the form specific to that form as kind of a header. If the title, this box is unchecked, it's going to use that text to put it in at the top of the form so that you can have a label of what that form is about. This is especially helpful if you have multiple forms. If you really only have one form, there's really not a need to have the title there, and since we want to keep the forms as simple as possible, that's why we have it hidden. So if you're doing this with me, at this point, once you've renamed it, I would go ahead and skip everything else and go down to the bottom of the form and hit save to save your copy, and then I'm going to show you, hit the save button, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the other pieces that you can configure there. So I just saved this form, and so you can see here's the header. Since I'm logged in, it's giving me some confirmations and also a warning this isn't fully set up to actually collect payments yet. A donor wouldn't see these tabs or this clone content. They just see the title, the description, and the form amount. When you're looking at the front end of the form, you can always jump in to the edit view by clicking on the edit tab that you see. And then I'll show you some of the other things that you can edit on the form. So if you're following along, you've completed one of the tasks on the to-do list for this week, which is to clone a form. So you'll have a copy of that form. You can edit the body area. That edits the description at the top. If you don't see, if you're looking at my screen, you see these nice formatting buttons that let you add some style to the text. What you can do is there's this text format drop down where you might have it set by default. It might be set to raw HTML. That's going to let you format if you want to. If you know HTML and you want to put HTML in and put the tags in by hand, you can do that if you want to. If you'd really rather not do that, you can go down to that text format menu and select the full HTML option, and that's going to give you the nice editor. That's still updating on mine. Hold on. I selected the full HTML, not filter HTML. That's going to give you the nice editor, so you can type it in like you would in Word. Just type it in and just hit return to add a paragraph. If you want to link somewhere outside your form, you can add some text and hit the link button and plug in a URL. If you use Core Publisher for your content management system, this probably looks really familiar to you because it's really similar to adding content in Core Publisher. So these are both Drupal-based systems. So editing text up here adds the text to the top of the form. I'm seeing if I have an example. So go right above where it goes into the donation amount if you want to add some descriptive text up there. Our recommendation is to keep it short. Since the form is responsive, it's going to shrink any text down when someone's viewing on a mobile device. I'm going to show you this. And what might look nice on a desktop, once you shrink down to the mobile view, might take up a lot of room. So you want to be as succinct as you can be, but you have some flexibility to put what you need to up there. I'm going to get into premiums, dive into premiums a little bit later on, but when you're editing a form, you can do some configuration as to which premiums you want on this form. When you're adding a premium, on the premium edit side of the house, you can also, from the premium, say, I want this premium on these forms. But if you're in the workflow of, I'm editing this form and I realize I need to add a premium to this form, or I need to take a premium off of this form. The way that it works is, first, before you add a premium to the form, you need to add the premium to the form system, and I'll show you that in a minute. If the premium is there, you can add it to the list of available premiums. You start typing the name of the premium, and matching items will show up in a drop-down list, and you click on them, and that will add it to the form. You can check this box that says featured. What that is for is what the system will do for items that are marked as featured is it will load them first when the form initially loads. Anything that doesn't have that featured box checked will then be put below the See More Gifts link. So thank you gifts you want to give a little bit more promotion to, you want to display as featured, and you might have a longer list under the More Gifts piece of things. If you need more lines to work with, you can click on the Add Another Item line. If you're looking at this list of premiums and you're realizing, oh, we don't have the umbrella anymore, we need to take it off, you can check the delete box, and then when you save your changes, it's going to pull this premium off of the form. It's not going to completely delete the premium from the system, so if it's something you might have again later, you can always add it to the form later. It's just taking it down off of this particular form right now. If you're doing this from the form, it's also not going to take it off of any other form. So if you had this umbrella on 3 different forms and you wanted to remove it from all the forms, you'd want to go into the record for the premium. I'm going to show you that in a minute. But if you just have one form and you want to take it down off of this one form, you can check the delete box, and then when you save the form, it's going to take it off. Moving down, there is a payment methods area. In your account right now, you only have 2 payment methods turned on. A credit card, which is right now configured to a test gateway, so if you put a real credit card number in any of the forms, it's not really going to get charged yet. And the other option is the Bill Me Later option. It is possible the system will also work with EFT payments if they're connected to a payment gateway. So in this demo form, we have a PayPal PayFlow Pro EFT connection turned on as an example. If you have EFT service that's activated on your gateway, let me know and I can activate the third option here for you to use. If that's something that you need to investigate turning on, we can turn it on anytime. It's easy. If down the road after you go live and you want to turn it on and test it on a test form and then flip it on in your live form, we can do that too. But here you can manage which of your available methods are available on the form. So if I normally have Bill Me Later as an option, but I have a particular form where I don't want to have Bill Me Later, I only want credit card payments to be accepted, I can uncheck this enable box on this form, and that's going to tell the system that I don't want bill me later, only want to check. So in this case, only credit card payments would be available. If it was unchecked and I wanted to add it back in, I can hit the check it again, and then when I save it, it's going to add it back in. The system is going to list the payment methods across, I'll show you, based on the order that they are in listed here. So if for some reason I wanted bill me later to be the first option, I can click on the cross arrows and drag it up. It's being difficult for me right now. This is our demo account. It's a little bit funny. Okay, there, it went up to the top. So now bill me later is at the top. There's this default column. You can choose a payment method to be your default payment method. So that's the method that's chosen as what displays initially, and then there are additional tabs that you can click on to go to the other payment methods. In most cases, you're probably going to want credit card to be default, so if you ever wanted something else to be default, you could do that as well. And then further down is the ask amount. So these are the buttons available at the top of the form for the donation amounts that your form is asking for. So you can customize those by adding in a dollar amount here. If you are using a joint form, so a form that will give you a one-time gift and a monthly gift, what you would put in the ask amount here is the annual amount, so the one-time gift amounts, and then what the form is going to do is it's going to automatically translate those into monthly gift amounts by dividing them by 12. So it's the $120 I put in here, the form's going to be smart enough to translate that to a $10 a month gift. Similar to the payment method, you can choose ask amount to be the default amount, and in this case that amount is pre-selected when the form loads. In this case, the $120 gift level is going to be already selected, and a donor could decide to choose a different amount. If you do not want to have an ask amount selected by default, underneath this add another button, there's a no default ask amount button that you can check, and that will load all these buttons. A donor could choose whichever one they wanted, but there won't be one pre-selected for them. The other thing that by default is selected, and depending on what the form is for, you could use it or not, is this show other amount option. So that's for having an open field at the top where a donor can write in whatever dollar amount they want to. So if I don't want to give $60, I want to give $50, I can write in $50 there. If for some reason you didn't want to have an other field, you could uncheck that to take that field away. And then the minimum donation amount, you can set to whatever amount is normally your minimum donation. On the example, it's 3, but if it's 5 for you, you could change it to 5. And then what the form's going to do is if someone puts in a donation amount that's less than that, is it's going to show an error message and say you need to have a minimum of $5 donation to submit the form. Finally, this display settings area, most likely you won't have to edit this area at all. This has to do with, is this a one-time gift form only? Is this a sustaining form only? Is this a joint form? If you've copied the template that you want to use that is already set up to be one-time or sustaining or what have you, you won't need to edit this at all. But you can, the language is a bit different than we've used for QuickPledge, but if you read it, you can figure out what the different settings mean. If you realize that you did a joint form, but you really just want an annual only form after you've done the love customization, you can switch it. So the recurring is an option for this form, but users may opt out, means it's a joint form. It can do both a one-time gift and a sustaining gift. The recurring is an option on this form, and users cannot opt out, means this is only for sustaining gifts. The only kind of gift that can be given in the form is a sustaining gift. And then the recurring is not an option, is a one-time gift. So I'm going to pause there and see if any questions have come in for that piece of it. Okay, it's a great question. Brian has a question about EFT payments. Actually, two questions. A question about payroll payments. So Brian's first question is that they process EFT payments through the university. Can we still do that with this form? So for collecting the actual bank account numbers through the form, we have to have it going through a payment gateway, and that is so that we can transmit and store those bank account numbers in the most secure way possible. We are not able to store bank account numbers on the database that's on our servers connected to this form or transmit them to you to host on your servers via this form for security reasons. If we have worked with stations who have a really good deal in processing EFT payments through a local bank or through the university, and going through the gateway is much more expensive. So what we can do in that scenario is we can do a couple things. One is doing close to the way QuickPledge deals with EFT payments right now, where there are no fields for collecting bank account numbers. You just select that as your payment method, and then the station has to follow up with the donor afterwards with a paper form or however you normally do it to collect that bank account information, get a canceled check from them. We can have a custom checkbox added. Say I would like to be sent information to set up EFT payments. We can customize the wording of what makes sense, and have the bill me later wording be edited to be kind of bill me or EFT payment. So someone can submit the form and have that checkbox they want to get set up with setting up EFT payments. You can have all the information and you can follow up with them later. And the answer is really the same for the question about is there an option for payroll deduction. We can have a custom question that says, please send me information about setting up a payroll deduction, and it's connected to a bill me later option. So someone doesn't have to submit a credit card number to complete the form. They can set that box to indicate that's what they want to set up, because like EFT payments, you need to coordinate with that individual for more information to get that payroll deduction set up and going through the university or organization that's going through. So they can submit their pledge with their intention that they want to set that up, and then you'll have their information so you can follow up with them to get it set up. A couple more questions are coming in. So a question about the minimum donation amount. Should you be sure to base that on your lowest monthly amount? Yes, so if you're using the form, especially if you're using the form that is the joint form, the form that is both a one-time donation and a sustaining donation, since the system is going to automatically divide the ask amount by 12, if your minimum donation amount is say $5, and you have put in $30 as one of your ask amounts, when you flip over to the monthly view, monthly ask amount, it's going to divide 30 by 12, which is going to be less than 5, which is going to cause problems. So in that case, you should have 60 as your minimum ask amount on the form. If that's a problem, you might want to consider setting up two forms. One just for the one-time ask, so you can have the smaller ask, maybe your basic membership is a $35 membership, and then you can point donors to a sustaining only form where the lowest ask amount is $5 a month or $10 a month, whatever your normal ask amount is. And another great question about, will there still be an option for entering the drawing only? In the new forms, that is going to be a change from the QuickPledge form. So in QuickPledge, what we had was a checkbox that you could check on the form to say, enter me in the drawing only, and then it would let you submit the form without entering a payment amount, a donation amount, or a payment type. So you could just enter your contact details and hit go. That functionality isn't available in the new forms. What we do in the new forms is you would have a link to a separate form in the description area. We're working on skinning what we're calling a non-payment form in the system. So it's similar to the donation form, but you can set it up so it doesn't have ask amounts and it doesn't have a payment method, so someone can just enter their contact information. What the workflow that we highly recommend if you are doing contests is pointing people to your donation forms, because you want the easiest way of entering the contest to be actually making a donation and having language at the top that says something like, if you make a donation, you're automatically going to be entered in our drawing for the new iPad or the whatever it is. And then having some additional language that says if you'd like to enter the drawing without making a gift, click here, and that would take you to the non-payment form where you just enter your contact details. And that gives an outlet for people who don't want to donate, and and your legal obligations for not requiring people to make a payment to enter the contest. But what you're still funneling people to your pledge form in the hopes that they'll actually make a gift, and making that be the primary function that's in front of them when they are responding to, hey, donate and be entered in our contest, kind of an appeal. There's a couple more questions. We're getting a little short on time, so I'm going to show you the premium piece of it, and then I'll circle back to other questions as well. I also want to show you the logo piece of it. And then anything I don't get to, I will follow up in notes to everybody, so everyone can kind of have the FAQ from today, and we'll have our time to talk next week so we can go through that as well. So once you've gone through editing the custom pieces that you can here, you can hit save at the bottom to save the changes on your form. And that's really the process. Anytime you want to make edits to the form, you can jump in, edit it, and go from there. So a couple of the other things that you need to be working on this week is uploading your logo. So if you have the logo handy, what you do is at the top, at the black bar up here, there's an appearance menu. And if you go into appearance and you go into settings and then you click on NPR Digital Services, this is going to give you a settings page for information about your station that's used in various places around the form. So the station name is how you want your station referred to. It's in the title bars on the pages on the form itself. And it also gets pulled into the automatically generated thank you emails and that kind of thing. So in this case, we have callers, WBUR, but if your station is like HPPR is on the call, where you don't go by your FCC call letters, you go by a different name, you want to confirm that it's reflecting what you want your station to be known as. The URL here, the logo on your forms will link back to your homepage. So you want to put the homepage URL, you want that to link back to you. This tagline text is that text at the top of the form that's going to appear across all of your forms set up on the system. So maybe it's your tagline, maybe it's something different. The email address, it should be a email contact for owners with questions about their pledge. It is going to be visible on the form, so there is an email link that will appear. Let me show you at the bottom of the page. There's a link that says need help, and it has whatever email address is entered there, and also the same for the phone number. So if what's in there is an individual, right now is an individual's email, and you have sort of a more general membership at, pledge at kind of email that you'd rather be used there, and the same with the phone number. If it's an individual's phone number and you'd rather that be the station phone number, main phone number, if you have a main membership line, you can switch it to that. Then you scroll down a little bit further, and to the area called the logo image settings area, and this is where you can upload your logo. So if you're in your own account and if you've gone into, followed me into appearance settings and NPR digital services and gone down here, you can go ahead and click on the browse button and go upload a logo from your computer. A couple things to keep in mind. One, the system can act funny and it won't display your logo correctly if the file that you upload has a space in the file name or has a character in the file name other than a letter, number, a dot, or a hyphen. Underscores, I think, are okay. But if you have strange characters or spaces, you're not going to see your logo. You're just going to see the text of your station name. The other thing to keep in mind is that the logo is always, in the system, is always going to appear on a white background. So you want the image to be an image that displays well on a white background. And finally, when you get down to I'm going to log out of this to show you. When you get down to the mobile size, it shrinks your logo down pretty small. So if you have a logo that is a couple of lines of text and an image on it, it might not be legible when it gets this small. So you may want to test that. You can always squish your browser down, or you can email yourself the URL to look at it on a phone if you want to kind of see what it would look like if there's a couple different versions of your logo that you might want to pick between. If you have a version that can shrink down pretty small, that's the best to use. Once you've made your updates here, you can save the configuration to save those changes. And this you can go back to anytime. The phone number always appears at the top of the form as a number that donors can call to either pledge or get help with a pledge. So if you use a call service during pledge drives, you might want to update it to be that call service. And then maybe when it's not in pledge drive, you might want to update it to just be the main station number, or if you have a membership line at the station, that kind of thing. You may want to manage that from time to time. The other piece I wanted to show you is adding thank you gifts to the system. So when I was showing you editing the form, I was showing you how you could add a thank you gift that had already been added to the system. And the way that you add the thank you gifts is you go into Store and you go into Products. I'm going to click on Products, and you'll see we have a couple dummy premiums added to the system. We have, I think it's a t-shirt and a flower arrangement, a couple things. You should see them listed there. If you want to add one of your own premiums, you go into Add a Product, and then you click on Create a Fundraiser Premium. And that's going to give you the fields you need to add your own thank you gift. So every gift needs to have a unique SKU. If you don't already have, if you have already SKUs that you use within your database, or if you work with a fulfillment service and you have codes that you use, you can, these can be anything you set them to be, so you can use your existing ones, so they'll match up with what's in your database. If you don't, if you just have some thank you gifts you manage on your own, you do need to assign a unique code to everyone. So maybe you just start with 001, 002 just to get started and go up from there. It can be anything you want, but it does have to be unique to each individual thank you gift. You have to give the thank you gift a title, and that is going to display as the name of the thank you gift when you're looking at the donation form. So if I'm looking at the form here, this NPR t-shirt, all this text right here in bold, the first line, that's the title. So it's the name of the premium that you want to display to your donors. The price is the minimum donation amount that somebody will need to give in order to get that particular premium. So if I put $60 in here, a donor has to give a minimum of $60 in order for the form to be able to let them select that as a gift with their donation. This out-of-stock checkbox is something that you can use if you want to. What that does is it will display, you can see the example of it here, it will keep a premium displaying on your form, but it won't let a donor select it. It might come in handy if you have a limited supply of a certain thank you gift and you want to keep it listed on your site so donors will know that, oh, I heard that you're giving away this special CD to the next 50 donors. I want to go try and get it. So they'll know they're in the right place, but they'll also know that they're too late for it. It is completely manually managed, so if you want it to flip from in stock to out of stock, someone needs to come into the record for that premium and manually check that box and hit save at the bottom. There's nothing built into the system right now that's going to do an inventory countdown to know, oh, you have 25 of this, and after 25 people have selected it, I'm going to automatically flip to out of stock. It doesn't do that. You would have to come in and flip it to out of stock yourself. The description is just that. It will provide, when you expand a premium, it will give, put the description in here. The NPR t-shirt 100% awesome is the example of the description that will display when people are looking at the premium on your donation form. If you want, you can give the premium up to 2 attributes. So that's if you have choices around the premium. The easiest example I have to give is if it's a t-shirt size and color. So if there's one thank you gift and you want to let somebody select the t-shirt size, in QuickPledge, if you had multiple t-shirt sizes, you had to set up multiple premiums, one for the small t-shirt, one for the medium t-shirt. In the new system, you can add them as choices here. So the title would be what appears in the drop-down menu when you're looking at it on the form. So you see the size label, and then in the attribute options, you list what the choices are. So if it's size, you just make a list of what you want the choices to be. So small, medium, 1 choice per line. It's going to put whatever you put in here into that drop-down menu as a choice. And then we'll get into it in the next training, but you can pull out information about what people have selected. If you leave these fields blank, it's just not going to show choices. You can do the second attribute if you want. Maybe you have 2 different color t-shirts. Maybe you have a gray t-shirt and a white t-shirt, and you want to offer those 2 choices. You can do that too, or you can skip that also. It's not required, but if you want to, you can put in a fair market value amount. And what the system can do is in the thank you email and in the confirmation screen, it can list maybe this t-shirt I'm putting in comes for a $60 donation and it has a fair market value of $10. Then on the thank you page, it will list you selected a t-shirt, has a fair market value of $10. So donors will see that acknowledgement of how much the shirt was actually worth. You can upload an image to go with your premium. If you do upload an image with a square orientation works the best, and this is also appearing on a white background, so something that would look nice on a white background also works the best. If you upload an image that is not a square, it's more oblong, the system's going to automatically crop it. So you want to get it as close to a square as you can before you upload it, to cut down on the possibility of the system cropping it in a strange place so you can't really tell what the premium is. You can, if you don't have all the information, you only have some information, you can skip all the non-required fields. All you really need to get the record of a premium in the system is the SKU, a title, and a price. And that's enough. You can scroll down to the bottom and get it into the system and add other information later if you want. If when you're adding the premium, you know which forms you want it to go on, you can add that here. I'm going to start typing the name of the form, and what shows up here is the internal name of the form that you selected. So this is another reason why it's good to have something a little bit descriptive here, so it's really clear when you're looking from the premium side of things, when you're trying to connect it to a form, you know exactly which form is which. If they're all support our station, it might be a little bit hard to figure that piece out. You can add another item to get more forms if you have more than one form that you want to connect it to. The confirmation message is not required, but it can come in handy. So what this is information that will appear to a donor on the confirmation screen and in the thank you email after they've selected the premium. So it's added information that you wouldn't see until after you've submitted the pledge. Maybe it's delivery information that your gift will come in 4 to 6 weeks, or maybe if it's a ticket, it's information about how someone's going to get the ticket. Maybe they're going to get mailed, maybe they're going to be on a list, whatever that additional instruction information is that you want to provide with the confirmation. It's not required if you don't have it. The system will still acknowledge what gift somebody selected when they get to that thank you screen, but if you do want to be a little bit more descriptive, you can do that. You also can schedule premiums to be on a form for a set amount of time. So if you know you're going to be promoting something just for a few hours during a pledge drive, you can schedule it to automatically on a specific date and at a specific time go onto the form and then retire off the form. So unlike the out of stock, it's just going to, this premium, if I've scheduled it to come down at a certain date and time, it's going to automatically come down when we hit that date and time. And it just won't be visible on the form at all anymore. The maximum quantity field is if you want to, by default it's going to say 1, but if you want to, with some premiums, it might make sense that someone might want to select more than one of them. Maybe the premium is a ticket to an event and you want to let someone select 2 tickets as the premium. You can put in whatever number you want here. What this does is the system creates a drop-down menu that gives numbers up to the maximum quantity. So if I put 4 as my maximum quantity, the system will create a drop-down menu that had a 1, a 2, a 3, and a 4. So what you don't want to do here is put in the maximum number that you have. If you have 100 of them and you put in 100 here, the system would give you a list of 1 to 100, which in most cases probably wouldn't make sense to do. But if you do want to let someone say, here's a ticket to a special concert, we want to frequently people want to have 2 of them, so we'll put the quantity as 2. It will have the drop-down menu, and then if someone selected 2, the system's going to do the math to say, oh, if you want 2, then you need to have a gift of whatever 2 times minimum gift is, so that donors will know that. This show field doesn't actually do anything on the form right now. What it's for is looking to a point in time where we might be able to categorize premiums based on program. Right now the system just stores information. If you want to put information about a related program in while you're adding the premium, it will store that information. It's not doing anything with it on the front end of the site. There's not a way to sort by program right now. Down the road, we definitely want to do more with having more options for the ways that you display premiums and work with premiums. But you can start plugging information in there right now if you want to. Then last but not least, there's this active and disabled area. So when you're adding a premium, by default, it's going to be active. And if it's active, it's going to show up on any forms that you've added it to. If there's a premium that you don't want to be visible on the form, you can change that to disabled. That's going to save the premium in the system, but it's not going to be visible on any forms until you go back into the record of the premium and hit active. And then you can save the product, which is saving this premium. If you have while you're in the setup mode, have a list of premiums that you want to be adding, you can save and add another. So you can save it, get your next one in, get your next one in. If you ever want to get back to your premiums, you can always go into the store and the products and get back to that list of premiums that you have. And you can go in and edit them. So if I had disabled my umbrella and I wanted to go back in, I could click edit. I could go back into that enabled, disabled checkbox to change the status to make it available later. So we are just about at time. I will stay on the line for a few more minutes and answer questions, but just to recap for everybody if you need to go. So hopefully some of you at least were able to follow along and do some of the steps. The things that we need to be working on this week is upload your logo to the system, clone a form that you think will work best as your primary form. Then take a look at that form that you've cloned, do some edits to the ask amounts and the description and the title as you need to, but then start looking at what you currently have for your donation form and what's on the form by default, and identify if there are more fields that are needed and let me know about those. Also, if there are additional people at your station who need to have access to the forms and need to have user accounts set up, let me know about that as well. I'll need to know who they are and what their email address is, and I can set up those user accounts. As you're working, feel free to reach out to me with questions. Hopefully you got the emails from me this morning. My information is up on the screen right now. You can reach me by email or you can call me. I'm happy to help, and also make sure you let me know about your availability for our call next week so we can have some more one-on-one time to talk through your any individual things that come up. So I'm going to jump into some questions now for those of you who might be able to stay. One question from Brandy: what if we have different prices for a thank you gift? For example, a one-time gift is $150, but if you become a sustaining member, the gift is $120. The system isn't smart enough right now to let you have two different prices for a single item. It's something that a couple other stations have mentioned, so it's something that I've been sharing with the team to let them know as they improve premiums over time. We might be able to build that in. The best way to get that set up right now is you may need to set up two separate forms, one for your sustaining gift and one for your one-time gift. And in that case, you're technically maybe setting up two premiums in the back end of the system, one for the $150 amount and one for the $120 amount. And then you can just list one on one form and one on the other form. It's really the best way to handle that right now. A question did come in about, can we still have a back-end form that the station puts credit card information in if we don't have computers for volunteers? Yeah, you can definitely set up a form to, like QuickPledge, you can have a form that is a back office form. So it's a form that you would be using internally at the station, or perhaps you have volunteers coming into the station specifically for entering information in pledges that come in over the phone, or internally other than users who are visiting your website. And there are ways to set that up as well. I would recommend cloning a form that you think would work best for that particular use, and having it be a second form to your primary form. And when we talk next week, we can get into the details. But we can, there are ways to give forms unique source codes so that when you're pulling out reports, you know which pledges came in from the phone form versus which pledges came in from your web-based form. So we can talk more about that later. Another question for the stations that are in QuickPledge: can we use the premiums listings that we already have in QuickPledge, or do we have to recreate all of these entries in the new form? You do need to, if you're using QuickPledge, you do need to recreate them in the new form. The way that the information is displayed is pretty different than the way it is in QuickPledge. In the first couple groups of stations that we piloted with back in last fall, we went over the new forms and went over the processes that for bringing things over. And the advice that they gave us once they really saw the meat of the system was that they thought that they would need to do quite a bit of manually editing between what is in QuickPledge and what would display in the new system, that it really wouldn't be worth the development time of sucking the information over when you'd have to go through each one individually anyway. Adding that functionality in will slow down other features that we knew we needed for launching, so that's why that's not available right now. I think that is everything. I will again, as I said, I will share the link out to the recording. You should have the slides, and I'll share answers to these questions with everybody so that if I missed you, I'll make sure that you get an answer to your question, and then I'll wait to hear from everyone for the time that works best for you for the call next week, and don't hesitate to reach out to me if you have additional questions as we go. That's what I'm focused on over the next 3 weeks, is making sure you have what you need and to keep things moving forward so we can get you migrated over. So thank you for joining me today, and I will be talking to all of you again soon. Thanks, everybody.